People who don't get stressed during a presentation, school, or work. What's your secret? Experience. I used to get nervous and now I don't. Not sure when or why that happened. Exactly. You just got to do it more and more, and eventually you realize your level of apprehension ahead of a presentation is almost nil. I think age is a factor also. The older you get, the less you care what people think. User tap review. This is the boring, unappealing, but best answer. I was constantly nervous in any speaking situation. It didn't matter if it was just an informal presentation to my research group or a big talk at a conference. I stuttered and struggled through every talk. Over the course of a few years, I did public lectures to hundreds of people, I ran a D&D game, and ended up in a corporate job where, at one point, I found myself giving a talk every day for a month. Now, I'm completely confident in a public speaking situation. I'll talk about basically anything in front of any group willing to listen. I totally sympathize with anyone who finds this advice terrifying, but you can't do better than just getting experience. Find opportunities to talk in a formal context, pick small groups or topics you feel really confident in but struggle through the embarrassment until you don't care anymore. Reddit link. Same. It's like anything else in life really. I used to get super nervous before any sort of public speaking event. Shaky hands, sweating, nausea, the whole 9 yards. Eventually I landed a job as a corporate trainer. I was desperate for a job and dollars, so I just had to get up in a room of 30+ people every day and present the training material and answer questions. Honestly, I just pretended I didn't care and faked it until I made it. Now, it actually doesn't bother me to speak in front of a group. If this is a challenge that you are facing, maybe look into local public speaking groups such as Toastmasters. If you're able to stow the nerves and act confidently, faking it, you might realize that you're actually quite knowledgeable about what you're presenting, assuming you know the material. It becomes a feedback loop of confidence. Assuming you know the material. Back in my 20s I worked for a software company. Part of what I did was training. Most up to this point had been 1 or 2 people in front of a PC. Suddenly I was being sent across the country to train a room full of people at a major pharmaceutical company. Yeah, I was stressed. Best piece of advice my boss gave me: remember, you already know the material better than they do. This is the actual truth I have learned over the years. It is only in very rare occasions that you are not the one in the room that knows most about the topic you are presenting. Of course, in school, there will be teachers and the likes, but all the students will be trailing by miles. In work it's essentially the same. You might encounter an expert, but most of the time they won't be seeking to freak you, are more likely talk to you afterwards for insights to your research, etc. So the truths are already mentioned in various comments. Be prepared, aka know your crap. Be fresh, sleep until rested, relax. You are the one that knows the most about the topic in the room. And a side note, a colleague who was training me for large group presentations: don't drink carbonated drinks, aka soda, etc. on stage, as you talking will produce gas in your stomach and make you burp. Proven in person because I am an idiot sometimes, so drink water. Periods would make this a lot easier to read. Assuming you know the material. Prepare, prepare, prepare. Importance cannot be overstated. And get proper sleep. What's the proper prepare/sleep hours ratio? As much as you can, 8 to 10 hours. And don't drink alcohol to excess in the preceding 72 hours. One of the major effects of boozing, as I've gotten older, is several days of anxiety that makes public speaking near impossible. I've started taking breaks from boozing. Couple weeks, not a month at a time, and I've noticed my anxiety levels shift dramatically. It's kind of crazy. Yeah, turns out binge drinking is bad. It's tough to reconstruct a social life that has been built around it though. Yeah, stuff that doesn't revolve around or involve a lot of food and booze can be tough. A couple of my favorite things in life. I find that swapping out booze for soda water/seltzer has been relatively doable, though. Helps replace soda, too. I once got brought into a department head level meeting while not being a department head or anywhere close to it to explain why a project is taking so long. I went through the question/grilling with the conference room chair tipped back, and I gave slow, calm answers to his why. I acted like I was explaining more at an after-work smoke session and less like an in-work grilling. Afterwards, one of the mangers pulled me aside to mention how awesome and cool I did under pressure. I didn't really do anything other than just slow myself down and explain a story from the beginning to the end to these people. TLDR surprise, the department head subordinates were so resistant to any change that they were slowing down any information gathering / requirement signing off on / testing / what, etc. I have never seen TLDR being used incorrectly before. Did you intend to give a conclusion? I had a similar experience, except I was a department trainer, to start, in a very large department. Then I became a manager and had to hold meetings. Eventually I became an expert on our in-house system, so I had to train people from all over the state, then country. It no longer scares me to speak in front of people. Similar experience, but I just started to not wear my contacts so I can't see anyone in the rooms anymore, haha. I used to do this in drama school to get over stage fright. It worked. 100%, any of my glasses homies, contact wearing squad, always tell them all you will see are a sea of blurs, and it makes it so you don't stay focused on an object or person because no one is in focus, can scan room more fluidly. Either that or I look like a cross-eyed fool and people are looking at that instead of listening, so either way it works, haha. God, I wish I could do this, but my eye prescription is -7.25. I would be running into the wall and falling off the stage. Just got to wear a weaker prescription so can kind of see / but not blind enough to kill yourself, haha. That's funny. I actually wear my glasses and that makes me feel safe when I have to speak to a crowd, or if I have to meet some serious people and talk about serious things. I understand both of these. No eyewear, I don't see spiders and scary stuff. Glasses on, and people can't make direct eye contact. But my lenses are so thick they make me look weird and I feel self-conscious. I was in Toastmasters for several years. It definitely helped me feel more comfortable standing up in front of people and talking. I still don't like it, but my body doesn't completely physically betray me anymore. Shaky hands, fast talking, filler words, weird hand movements, sweating, just looking extremely stressed, staring at notes. I mostly don't have any of those problems anymore. It was all just practicing being in front of people and getting used to it. I think it's the best way to get better at public speaking. This is my answer too. I used to be super nervous about presenting or speaking. When I was a young adult, I had some serious social anxiety. Then I became a teacher for adult recreational classes in my field, which involves speaking in front of a group of 10 people every week. After a while, it became normal. Now when I have to present things to a bigger audience, it doesn't bother me. Sometimes my work involves dealing with strangers in crowds all day, and that doesn't bother me anymore either. When I was in high school, I took a class called American Humanities. It was worth both an English and a history credit, so we were in this class a bunch. Rather than lecture us, the teacher had us all study one aspect of the topic and teach the rest of the class. The teacher would make sure to correct anything we got wrong or fill in the holes, but the lion's share of the class was taught by the class itself. These lectures we prepared typically took between 30 to 45 minutes per person. When the class started, most of us were terrified of giving speeches, only having done 5-minute speeches from time to time in class. By the end we all felt it was no big deal, having stood up in front of our peers long enough to loosen up. We each had maybe 10 hours of public speaking practice by the end. By far the most valuable high school experience I had. I rather speak in front of 400 strangers than 10 people I know. For me, it's either got to be people I know very well, or people I don't know at all. I'm very socially anxious around acquaintances for some reason. It could be that they are potential friends. You likely won't see, or recognize, those strangers ever again. Your friends? You can be silly around them. They won't judge you that hard. Acquaintances are people you'd want to impress, so they would be your friend. Pretending you don't care. Steve Kerr, the basketball coach, recommends a book called The Inner Game of Tennis. Its theory is that your mind applies brakes that impede your performance, physical or other. If you pretend to be someone that is really good at a task/skill, your mind is less likely to apply those brakes. I've applied this to public speaking as well. Try to pretend you're someone comfortable speaking in front of others. I like to pretend I'm The Rock, focused and having energy, just not doing the wrestling theatrics. For me it was repetition too. Eventually you kind of get used to it. I still get the nervous excitement before an important presentation, but I don't mind, it serves to sharpen my mind. Otherwise, just getting up and talking to a large group is no big deal anymore. That being said, I am still a basket case if I have to perform musically in front of an audience. I have friends who have played in a large symphony for years and still suffer panic attacks, like passing out kind of attacks. Yep, you just have to jump right into it, you'll never be as ready as you want to be anyways. Focus more on getting done with your work and with time you'll get used to it. This is the answer. You just make a conscious decision to ignore the anxiety and effing do it. After the first couple times when the world doesn't end, you'll realize that it's not a big deal. This goes for all irrational fears. I got over my fear of heights by just getting up on the ladder/lift/whatever and powering through until it wasn't a problem anymore. I agree. I used to absolutely hate it, but it's kind of part of what I do. I'm an academic researcher, so present at conferences and teach to large groups. Practice helps. I still get nervous, but in a way that makes me perform better, not worse. Just knowing you've done it before and it went well can be very reassuring. Perhaps get someone you are close to, can give you some feedback, and then use that to boost your confidence. I get so stressed before the presentation that the actual presentation comes as a relief. That's my secret, Captain. I'm always stressed. Hey big guy, presentation's getting real slow, beep beep. Next slide please. Dang it, you beat me. Oh, my goodness, I can't agree enough. I spend all the time leading up, double-checking things, wondering about adding more, editing slides or whatever just slightly, just going neurotic, and losing my mind. Like today I am procrastinating on Reddit before a presentation to 600 some students this evening, joy, but once I'm actually talking, I know it will be a breeze and then be over. Just keep remembering, I've done it before, I can do it again. The real reasons I had stuffed animals in my room, so I can practice my school presentations on them, with their unblinking eyes. Do it over and over to get timing, inflection, pronunciations, rotating head/eye contact, etc. right. My hands would shake and it would be damp from sweat, and it was just stuffed animals looking at me. Actual presentation? My body just going through the motions because I had practiced so much the week and night before. Hold on to the remote control/pen/pointer tightly as it's my fidget spinner/tris ball. Definitely faking it, but made it. Practically flawless. The audience always say they couldn't tell how nervous I was. Definitely sweated through the deodorant that was slathered on in the back of my shirt, so wear 2+ shirts, tank top/t-shirt to soak it up, actual shirt that's nice looking for presentation, maybe a cardigan/blazer for professional shoulders, and inevitable cold from all that sweat. Every single time. I still get stage fright. Go home, change, and just get away from all those people. Hey, good luck on the presentation though, you got this. Thanks. This was I'd always sign up to be first if there was a speaking order. Even better if it's on a Monday. Then I just totally forget until I walk into class on Monday. Edit. This is also how I got decent at flying by the seat of my pants, as it were. Also, being first removes the chance you'll be following a great presentation, no expectations. Not to mention everyone else is still stressed about theirs coming up. Nothing worse than waiting through a whole class before doing your presentation. Just get it over with as soon as possible and relax. Public speaking doesn't bother me if I know the material really well. Know what you're talking about and you'll be fine. Don't be afraid to not know something too. If someone asks you something you don't know, just say so. Yeah, a presentation is much easier to give when you are the expert in the room. Also, if asked a question, don't spout off bullcrap if you don't know. Just say, "That's a great question. I don't have an answer for you off the top of my head, but let me get back to you also." The only person that's going to lose sleep over your bad presentation is yourself. So don't be so hard on yourself. Plus, the audience wants you, for the most part, to succeed and give a good presentation. They'll likely give the benefit of the doubt where possible. What about if you're giving a presentation on how to combat insomnia? Then giving a boring presentation is your goal. But what if I get so nervous, shaking, stuttering, etc. that it will excite the audience. Then they'll be so tired from that excitement that they'll sleep like a log later. Honestly, just remembering that most likely, no one is paying attention anyway, especially if it's school. If you're in school, literally nobody cares about your presentation. Unless you're into what you're doing. Then all those crapheads decide to start effing with you and ask questions that seem to be related but really aren't, so you have no idea how to answer. It is okay to have limited knowledge of all the aspects of an issue, particularly if they are only tangentially related. And I do not know, but I will check and get back to you, or that is outside the scope of this presentation, at the moment, but we can discuss it later should suffice. Great question. I don't want to get too off track here, but let's discuss offline afterwards. Top tip for any presentation is to tell people at the beginning whether they should ask questions throughout or save them for the end. If you allow them throughout, introduce the concept of a parking lot for any questions that would get too off topic and push you over time. This can be a physical whiteboard, posted on the wall, or just a note you take on paper. Then, for any questions you don't want to answer, great question, but I think it's going to take us out of scope. Let's add it to the parking lot and we can follow up offline or in a future session. Honestly, most people are never going to follow up on that stuff. At the very least, it buys you some time and doesn't derail the conversation. Indeed, those are good ways. Any variation showing control of the flow of conversation is great, and an essential public talk skill. Mostly we would get a question time after the presentation is over. I'm mostly at ease with university stuff, after long years of practice, so I would take good questions to the extent I would know and deflect the random ones. Also, I would try to make good questions when on the other side, low balls but not too much, that allow the person presenting to elaborate a bit and stand out, if I saw them comfortable, or to wrap out acceptably looking at a friendly face, if they appeared nervous. Well, if the teacher evaluates you. I adjunct at my local college for juniors and seniors. We as teachers can tell when you know your stuff, and when you don't. I will ask questions on behalf of the class when they're not paying attention to something good, but I'll make it a layup. So you're saying that regurgitates in simpler format? But for those butthole kids that think they can just mail in a crap presentation by copying text from their books/the internet, and think I'll just let them float, I will absolutely tell them, now go back to slide number 3, can you extrapolate on, college students, we want you to know your stuff, or at least pretend like you care. That's it. Show me you're trying. Nobody cares, but not in a mean way. In a matter of fact, it's okay friend way. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to be the first to know about Red Rabbit Reader's new videos. If you like our videos, please like them on YouTube and share them with your friends. We welcome your comments below. Press to start another of our videos.